So like when I arrived to the US, like I didn't know I was illegal. Like that didn't really cross my mind because I was a kid. I didn't really know what was going on. So like when I started going to school, like this is like kind of like the first instances of like differences that I noticed. Is like the teacher wouldn't help me learn to read. Like I would have to go to the teacher and be like, "Hey, like I also want to read." Like she would be teaching all these other kids to read and giving them attention and stuff, but like she would just kind of ignore me. And like I would have to go and ask her like, "Hey, like I want to learn how to read. Like teach me how to read." You know what I mean? So that was like kind of like the first difference that I like noticed as far as like treatment. And I was like super young. You know what I mean? I was born in Mexico, but I was raised on the borders of Texas. So there was always like these pulling of ideas and cultures and identities that I was always like in the middle of, and I couldn't really define it. Like I never considered myself one or the other. I always said I was Mexicano, but obviously I was like raised in America, and that kind of had a effect on me. My family for generations has been involved in the textile industry here in my hometown in Guanajuato. It's a little pueblo called Uriangato. Started with my grandma knitting baby blankets, and later on she invested in her own machinery, and that's kind of how it started. As well as my hometown is a big textile industry, and it's like the main source of income, and textile manufacturing pretty much runs the economy here. Once I moved here, I started doing a lot of product development for clothing manufacturing, so I got to learn a lot of the processes, the industrial processes of making clothes. And while I was learning those processes, I came to realize that like the industrial production process, it created a substantial amount of waste. And it's when I decided that I wanted to be an artist.
A ver que nos quede el audio.
Sí, 10, de 10 a 15.
And so when I decided that I wanted to start making art on my own terms, I wanted to use, first of all, like what I knew, and second of all, these materials and processes that were also like close to my family. To me, the hands, or the machinery making hands, it questions the relationship between labor and dehumanization. On a personal level, the motive of the hands is like me trying to reach a balance in the midst of a transcultural identity. Like the idea of reaching for a connection, or two opposing ideas or two cultures coming together within me to reach a balance. Yeah, and I think on a lighter note, it could represent a pure symbol for humanity and unity without any kind of prejudice, as well as more like heavy is like the hands representing the worker, the immigrant, the oppressed, and yeah, like those kind of dynamics working together.
Ya. ¿Listo, amigo? ¿Listo?
Si quieres yo te ayudo.
Pásale don si quiere, no importa.
¿Y todos son de aquí?
Sobre la canción.
O sea, tú pones tiempo para los cohetes, pues.
¿Todo te lo encargas eso?
When I started my art making process, I really wanted to use local materials and local crafts. So yeah, when I would visit or when I was living here, I would always see these castillos, pirotécnicos, or castillos de cohetes, which like translates to firework castles. And they were always so captivating for me. I would always see them even as a kid visiting my family, and I was always just like in awe with them. They always grabbed my attention. As well as I wanted to document this craft that wasn't really seen in the mainstream, or at least that I know of. It was like rarely seen, and because like the celebrations that they were used in were only like once or twice a year. And so like as a way to pay homage to my hometown, I also wanted to document these processes, these crafts, and these artesanos, artisans, and really pay homage to what they were doing, and as well as use it in my art to kind of as a way to reflect upon where I'm born, as a way to investigate my family history and my own identity, like using these crafts that are specific to my hometown. Why I use the spiral? So as a part of an ongoing investigation of my identity and my family history, I started studying ancient Mesoamerican codices, and through doing that, I found the legend or the ancient Mexican deity of Quetzalcoatl. And to many ancient religions, Quetzalcoatl was seen it was like representation of resurrection, life, death, reincarnation, and just like spiritual rebirth of man or spiritual generation, as well as in other religions. He was known as the creator of the arts, the creator of the calendar, the creator of books and all intelligence. He came to represent the god of rain, the god of wind, the one who blew the clouds and made it rain, that brought, prosperity, to earth, kind of like giving it fertility for life. And so all these stories really intrigued me, as well as yeah, like in a personal sense, the spiral can be seen as like my own resurrection of my identity as a Mexican, my own spiritual like closeness or generation of, yeah, just that, like me looking into my identity as a Mexican. The castillo with the legs. First of all, like the end result is a human running action, which is a motive that comments on migration. The piece captures like the sense of excitement, celebration, and hope that one might feel for dreaming of a better life, better opportunity for their family, for safety, and for financial stability. It's a dream full of excitement, happiness, and prosperity. Or like the feeling one might get when arriving to the US. But within the piece, there's a turning point where the legs start to slow down, they start to lose strength, burn out, and suddenly you notice like a lack of power, and it begins to mark like a much darker side of the journey of migration. There's a real danger that many will not reach their destination. Most will die or disappear along the way. These legs start disappearing, the movement comes to a halt. It's quite anticlimactic. What begins as hopes and dreams ends in tragedy. And even if one does reach the destination, they soon realize what they thought was the American dream ceases to exist for them, and the celebration and expectations of happiness and prosperity soon turns into feelings of confusion, fear, displacement, and unworthiness.